Namaste. Who am I? The question that ponders in all. Seeker follows this call. Where is the answer? Is it in the ashram hall? Is it in the books of the stall? Is it in the mountains that is far? Is it in the Guru shining as a star? Take a deep breath and dwell. All is always well. Let go of the past. Disregard the future. Present is the present. Be aware of the now moment. Vedanta bell is ringing around the corner as an invitation to the silence inner. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Join me in this journey of divine madness. Let the plurality be dismissed, absolute oneness be understood. Presenting to you through Atmananda Lahari podcast, Adi Shakti Varalakshmi Niranjan. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Janmadhyasya yatonvayatyitarataschaarteshvabhignasvarat Tene brahma hrudaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo varimrutam yada vinimayo yatra trusargo mrusha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhaham Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi. Today's sankalpa is to look at Śrīmad Bhāgavatam through the lens of Advaita. I would like to look at the symbolism in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam through the lens of Advaita, because traditionally Śrīmad Bhāgavatam discourses are all done through the lens of Dvaita or Visishta Advaita, because it is the story of Lord Krishna. But today I thought I want to look at it through the Advaita lens. Great Acharyas have done that. We have listened to that. We have read them. I just thought as a student of Advaita, I would like to compile that and see whether we can summarize it. Before we go into that, we'll just give a little overview of the scriptures of Sanātana Dharma. So they can be broadly categorized into four. One is Shruti, and the second one is Smriti, and then third one is Itihasa, and fourth one is Purāṇa. So what is Shruti? Shruti includes mainly the Vedas. Our Vedas, the four Vedas and Upanishads, the Vedanta, they are all Shruti. Guru Upadeshan Shruyate iti Shruti. Meaning they are only heard, because Vedas are revealed to us. They are not written by anybody. The lyrics came later, but they are only heard, and that is why they are Shruti. They are the fundamental, they are like the guidebooks. Then comes Smriti. Smriti means it comes from the memory. Smaranam, Smriti means it's from memory. So sages have written what they have listened from Shruti in Smriti form. So there will be, they are written down. A lot of rishis have done it. They don't deviate from Shruti. They say the same thing, but they are in a much more expanded way. It is written. For example, Bhagavad Gita is a Smriti. And the third one is Itihasa. Itihasa, we know, it is the epic. Ramayana and Mahāpurāṇas. They are history-based literature. Iti ha asa. Iti means in this way. Ha, definitely. Asa, happened. In this way. What really happened? There may be fiction added to it, because it is written in a story form by the poet, but mainly there is a history-based literature. Then the fourth category is the Purāṇa. Purāṇa are expanded and magnified literature, And they are very ancient, but they are not obsolete. They are very relevant even for today. Even for this 21st century, it is relevant. That is why the word Purana is used. Pura abhi navaha. Pura means very ancient. Nava means fresh, ever fresh and relevant. They have a lot of these, personification, symbolization, all those things like asuras and rakshasas are given. They are all basically, like a personified way of describing the qualities. And they are written in stories so children can easily understand. And they are magnified. Like, for example, if you take the statement, Satyam Vada, say the truth, truth only. Based upon that, we have this big Harishchandra Purana. And so abstract ideas are all now expanded and magnified by the poet. And there are 18 Purāṇas and then 18 Upapurāṇas. So we have 36. And one of them is Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It is kind of the most popular one, and it is written by sage Vyasa. Purāṇikas talk about it, they expand the stories and they kind of tell in Upanyasam. Usually these Purāṇas are also chanted. Like for example, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is chanted as a Parayanam, and it's usually done over 7 days, called Saptaham. We actually just did that in our house, the Saptaham. 7 days we did the full Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And Shri Krishna Premi Anna chanted, his audio we used. He was the one who taught me Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and I've been listening to his talks from the childhood. While you're a child, the interest is more in listening the stories. So we used to go and sit and listen to the stories. And then as you grow, both in age as well as in your spirituality, you want to chant. Because now these vibrations actually, you enjoy that. You feel that they do calm your mind. And then slowly you start now wondering about the deeper meaning to these stories as well as the symbols that are given. So that's what I thought I'll do now. After chanting the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, just pick certain important points from that and then give like a summary of why those symbols are there and how to look at that through the lens of Advaita. The first shloka I just chanted as a prayer for this talk, starting as Janmadhyasya Yatonvaya. So that is the very first shloka of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Pratama Skandam, Pratamadhyayam, and first shloka. When you look at that, any text should have a prayer, the spiritual text. If it doesn't have it, then it's not worth reading. That's what they say. So in this text, this is what started as a prayer by sage Vyasa. And in the last line, he quotes and he says, Satyam Param Dhimahi. He's not saying Krishnam Param Dhimahi, Ramam Param Dhimahi, or Shivam Param Dhimahi. He says Satyam Param Dhimahi, meaning Satyam, the existence, the absolute existence, absolute truth, the reality. That's what he is talking about. Ulladu, that is what is there. Brahman, Atma, these are all the names, That is what he is talking about. So this text is all an Advaita text. It reveals the Advaita, the topics, but in a story form. I don't want to use the word concept because Advaita is not the concept. It is the thing. So it is not a concept. And so we have to grow out of that. And when we talk about Advaita, it is, we know in Brahmaiva Satyam, Jagat Mithya. That is what is explained, but in a story form. So it will be taking you from the kindergarten level to like a PhD level. So how to grow with it. And when we go deeper and understand that he is talking about the existence, when we say Sat, what is the Sat? Sat is the isness. Whatever is Ishvara. That is what he's talking about. He in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Sage Vyasa now takes us into like the abode of Vishnu. That is how the Bhagavatam begins, and that's described as ocean of milk. Why ocean of milk is used? The text kind of talks to you about the creation, how the universe manifested. That's how it begins, and then in the beginning itself it talks about the milky ocean. And we have seen that too, right? The pictures of Lord Vishnu lying down in milky ocean. And in Tamil they call it Parkadal. Parkadalil paduthirukum Parandaman. But when we look at the word Vishnu, we have to now go to Adi Shankara's Bhashyam for Vishnu Sahasranamam. And he describes that this is the all-pervasiveness. So the all-pervasiveness is called Vishnu. What is that all-pervasiveness? The isness. Because that existence, iruppu, that is what is there everywhere. When you say a sentence, say you want to say, there is a flower. That is there, and that's what describes that flower. The flower may fade. Then you will say, there is a faded flower. So that isness is still there. Flower may fade, you may use faded flower, but the isness is always there. So in English, when you write Ishvara, you write it as I-S-W-A-R-A or I-S-V-A-R-A. So the is the beginning, and that is the true existence. If you want to go one step ahead, the S if you remove, then it is only I. So the I is the true existence. Like Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi asks, who am I? That I is the true existence. But the ego imagines that it is the true I and then creates the samsara. When you know the true self, the I is the existence, it is the satyam. When that jnanam comes, the satyam and jnanam, there is ananda. So that's what is Sat Chit Ananda. Coming back to the milky ocean symbol, why milk is used? Milk represents white, the color, and it is representing the purity. So the pure existence, nirgunam, there is no quality attached to it. It is pure by itself. And milk is invigorating. It gives you energy. It makes one feel strong, healthy, and it symbolizes that infinite bliss, Brahmananda. That's what the milk is representing. But now, with the science development and astronomy, we use the galaxy, we name the galaxy as Milky Way galaxy. So this Bhagavatam, when it talks about this Narayana and milk, ocean of milk, it is talking about the entire universe, the existence of this universe, the Milky Way galaxy. And then let's go to the next step in the creation. Navel of Narayana is described because now Lord Vishnu is lying down, and from his navel there is a stem that comes, and then there is a lotus, and on that lotus Lord Brahma is sitting to create this world. That is how the storyline goes. We have seen this in pictures, but then if you really look at the symbol behind what is the story or what is the reason for using all these symbols in these stories, the navel represents the space, Akasha. Akasha is the very first element that comes out. So, Nabha iva nabihi. So, from the nabi, from the navel, the stem comes. So, we talked about the universe and then the space, and from the space is the navel. So, now we have this lotus. So we'll look at the lotus and Lord Brahma with 4 heads. That is how the picture is, right? So if we go to Śrīmad Bhāgavad Gītā, Adi Shankara Bhashya, he talks about this lotus, what it represents. We'll go to the chapter 11, and in that verse 5, Bhagavan actually explains how he emerges as the entire universe. Pashya me partha rupani shatashota sahasrashah nana vidhani divyani nana varna kritini cha. O Partha, hundreds and thousands of my forms, of my many varieties, many colors and shapes. See that? That's what he is saying. So he is very clearly saying that he is the one that comes out as the entire universe. Now if we go to the same chapter, but the verse 15, we'll see the word Kamala there. This is said by Arjuna. Arjuna vacha pashyami devastava deva dehe sarvans tatha bhuta vishesha sanghan brahmanamisham kamalasanastam. So the word Kamala comes there, and for that Adi Shankara, when he writes the Bhashyam, he says Prithvi Padma Madhye. So he says this lotus is the Prithvi. So now we have the earth. So the lotus represents the earth. And then we see Lord Brahma is seated on this lotus. So Lord Brahma is having the 4 heads. Those 4 heads are representing the 4 Vedas. So as the universe emerges, as the earth comes out, Vedas also came out. That's why we call them revealed. So because they are like the guidebook. If you go to a store and you buy something, an appliance, you buy a toaster oven, there is usually a guidebook, a manual comes with it. How to use it. If there is a problem, how to troubleshoot it. That's what Vedas are. Vedas tell us what to do, what not to do. And then Vedas also tells us how to realize the self, how to know the truth. Because that is the Vedanta, that is the Upanishads. So when we talk about this creation, I would rather use the word manifestation, but for the sake of discussion, if we use the word creation, we have to look at it again from the Advaita lens. In this creation, there is 2 causes, like Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana. Nimitta Karana means the intelligent cause, the one who kind of makes it, like the creator. So that's where the Lord Brahma comes. And then we have Upadana Karana, which is the material, the raw material, from which the whatever you are creating is being created. For example, if you look at a pot, is made out of clay. And so the clay is the raw material. And then there is a pot maker who kind of makes the pot. And he is the intelligent cause. So there are 2 different things, clay and the pot maker. Whereas here in this universe, it's all one and the same. It's the Brahman, the Satyam, the existence, the Atma. That is what is only one thing. That is the intelligent cause as well as the material cause. That's what here in Shloka 5 Bhagavan is saying. See my colors and shapes. So he is the one who comes out as the entire Jivarasi. And the creator, if you want to understand it, we have this symbol of Brahma with 4 heads. So the Vedas also come out at the same time. And now Śrīmad Bhāgavatam takes us to the incarnations, the Dashavatara of Lord Vishnu. Machakurma Varaha Narahari Vamana Rupa Ho. That's how it goes. So it comes from fish. The first avatara is fish, which lives only in water. Then the turtle, which is an amphibian. It can live in water as well as the land. Then we have Varaha, boar. And then we have Narahari, half lion and half human. Then Vamana Rupa, dwarf. And then we have Parasurama, who's like a crude human. And then Rama, who's like a righteous human. And then we have Krishna, celestial human. Buddha, enlightened human. And then Kalki, yet to come. All these are described as the incarnations or Dashavatara. Basically describing, following the evolution. If you look at the scientific evolution, how from one cell to multicellular, now we have even artificial intelligence, how it kind of evolves, that evolution. And then Bhagavatam also talks about how this Nara and Narayana are one and the same. Narayano Nara iti Swatapa Prabhavaha. So that comes in Skandam 2. So all the way it's only describing Advaita. Both Nara and Narayana are one and the same. That's what it is describing. So now I want to take you to Skandam 3, where time concept is introduced. Like Paramanu from atom, that is introduced. Almost quantum physics is explained here. The fractions of time is explained here. Just amazing when you go deeper and find out what it is there. But I want to spend a little bit more time on Skandam 4, the Dhruva story. It's a famous story. We all know about the story. This little boy Dhruva, he is denied to be seated on his dad's lap. The dad is the king. The stepmother tells him, you cannot sit on your dad's lap, go away. And now he is crying. And then his mom says, go pray to Ishvara, pray to God, and God will guide you. And then on the way he sees Guru, Narada. He gives him a mantra. He goes to the forest, meditates, and then he realizes the self. He sees the God. That's the story. As a story, it's very adoring and very fascinating. But what does it again symbolizes? Dhruva is the reality. It symbolizes the fixed reality, the immutable reality. In the constantly changing universe, the not changing, the constant, that is what Dhruva is. It's the northern pole star. We know from the stargazing people or even the astronomers you ask, they know that northern pole star is right fixed. It doesn't move. Everything else you actually kind of say, oh, that's the northern pole star that is there, and then around it. That is how you describe it. So that is Dhruva. That is the self, basically. And then south, this is in the north direction, and then south usually represents the mortality. When we talk about mortality, it is not the death of the body we are talking about. We know body will die. It's about the ignorance. So we want the ignorance to go away. So that's why moksha is in the northern direction. That's why you don't put your head on the south. All those beliefs and superstitions are there. You move towards north, which means you move inward. You go inward, just like how Dhruva was meditating and found the self within him. You go inward, antarmukha. So the names here, if you look at it, the offspring of Dhruva is called Kalpa. So that's the time, the Vedic time. And then there are the names, the mother name is Suniti, and then the stepmother name is Suruchi. Suniti is, Su means good, Niti is, good ethics, a woman of good ethics. And then Suruchi. Suruchi means a woman with worldly desires. Honestly, if you look at it, it just describes us, the jiva. We all have the good Suniti in us, who's always goody-goody, who wants to pray, who wants to meditate, who wants to do the right thing, be dharmic all the time, Suniti. And then we also have the Surichi in ours, who is going after the worldly things. All the desires are coming out. So we have this Subuddhi and Durbuddhi within us. That's what this is describing. And then the king's name is Uttanapada. Look at that. The one who has a foot on the table. In other words, he's wobbly. He doesn't have both feet on the ground. So that again describes the jiva. When you are wobbly, when you are thinking, oh, I can have little bit of moksha and little bit of samsara, that doesn't work. You have to be grounded. You have to give up the worldly desires. And that's what this is symbolizing. Move towards the north means move antarmukha, go inward, find the self within you, do the self-enquiry, who am I? Like Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi says. And then if we, go into the fifth skandam, we will also be looking at how the planetary system is kind of described. Sisusmara. Sisumara is the dolphin-shaped. And actually now the astronomy is saying the galaxy is a dolphin-shaped. Go figure. In the fifth skandam, there is also this story of Jadabarada is described. mainly to teach us how important it is not to derail in the spiritual journey. It's the attachment. He was a sage, he was in the forest, but then he gets attached to this little deer who he kind of brings about from the baby deer. And then he gets so attached in the last, during the last time of his life, and then he'll be born as deer in the next birth. So the vasanas, it describes, if you keep on attaching yourself to the worldly things, that's all will be in the karana sharira and you will be born again. So now if we move from the 5th skandam to the 6th skandam, there is this story of Ajamilan is said. Because he is not even thinking about God, but towards the end he starts thinking about Narayana and how Narayana saves him. Again, the idea is to teach us how slowly we have to move away from the world consciousness to God consciousness. And if we start doing that, the Karma Yoga will be easy, and then the path to Jnana Yoga will just be, evident. And now the 7th skandam. If we look at 7th skandam, we have this beautiful story of Prahlada. Dear Prahlada story, everybody loves it, and especially children love it, and it's very dramatic with all the way that how he was tortured and how he was saved by Lord Krishna. But again, we have to understand the storyline is mainly written to make us understand about bhakti. He describes the 9 forms of bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam is very important, where you surrender. You kind of sarva Ishwararpanam. That is very, very important. That comes in the 7th skandam. There is also another very nice story in this skandam, how when you think about moksha, it is an individual journey. It is not a family affair. It is not like you cannot have your friends and family with you when you are with Ishvara, when you are trying to find your own self. Because the story is, they say, Krishna is saying, when Narasimha after that avatara is saying, I can give you moksha, Prahlada says, I'll go ask my friends whether they want to get it too, because I used to play with them. But the friends are now saying, they say, I'll go ask my parents. And then apparently the friend's parents says, oh, you're a child, you just have to grow up, go to college, get a job. Moksha is not time for you now. And the same way he goes and asks all the animals. The animals are now asking, the dogs are asking, what is moksha? So that's how it will be. The world around you may or may not be interested in what you are interested, but you just proceed towards God. And that is the storyline is explaining. Because moksha is not a prarabdha. It is a purushartha. Moksha happens despite you and not because of you. We have to understand that. And then the famous story of Gajendra comes in the 8th skandam. The Gajendra is described as the elephant king. He is the king of Trikuta. Trikuta is like the place of 3 peaks. Let's just look at the symbolism behind it. 3 peaks, what are they? The 3 gunas. Tamo guna, Rajo guna, and Sattva guna. So again, it describes the jiva who is the king of these 3 gunas. Basically, we are actually think we are the king, but actually we are the servant. Maya is the queen, and she kind of paints with these 3 colors, the Tamo guna, Rajo guna, and Sattva guna. That's her palettes, and she uses that to color this universe. And in this skandam, 8th skandam, 2nd chapter, 26th verse, he says, sage Vyasa says, Yatagrahi, meaning just like the family person, this Gajendra was there. And now he is caught by the alligator. The alligator represents the desires. When the desires catch us, they don't let go of us. We have to learn to let go. Otherwise, the desires catch you. It's an alligator bite. the desires of alligator catch by chance. Let the eye release the bite just with a glance. The storyline is Vishnu now sends the chakra, and the chakra goes and kills the alligator. So again, we'll talk about what chakra symbolizes in the later part, but it is mainly describing the surrender. When you surrender, when the ego surrenders, because when Gajendra is actually the moksha, the stuti, Gajendra stuti is all about surrender. And when he surrenders to the Satyam, the Satchidananda Rupaya, now the desires kind of dies away, dries away. It's like the the petals that fall off, like the like when the fruit is ripe, it just comes out of the plant. That is how it is. It's the urva rukamiva bandhanan. When you are ready, it will happen. So the desires will let go. So Bhagavan is sending the chakra. When you look at that, we have to remember Bhagavan's grace is like a wind. It's there all the time. It's there everywhere. But it is Jiva has to turn the boat now towards this wind. This is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's quote. He says, Bhagavan's grace is like the wind. You sail your boat towards the wind. Then life becomes easy. If you move away or against the wind, life will be a struggle. That's what we have to remember. In the same skandam, we also have the Vamana Avatara, the Balit Chakravarti is said. Balit Chakravarti's story is again another fascinating story. He's a very righteous man. He's the king of giving charities. He's like a Dana king. But he has this ego that I am the world's best, charioteer or a philanthropist. So when he surrenders that ego, for the third step, because again he judges the person who comes in front of him is a dwarf. So, and when that dwarf Vamana Rupa Krishna asks for 3 steps, he thinks, oh, I can give this. But then as Vamana grows, he understands that is Maheshwara, that is the Ishvara that is coming in this form. And it's almost like that Vishwarupa Darshanam. And now he bends down and he surrenders the ego, and now the 3rd step goes on his head. Again, this talks about how important it is the surrender in this spiritual journey. And now we have this beautiful section, Skandam 9, where Rama Avataram is explained. Rama is the Lord of righteousness, right? So it almost describes how every human can become a Rama. Because by the goodness, he is born as a human, he runs the life as a human, he lives the life, and then becomes divine just by the qualities. That's what it describes. Everyone can be a Rama if you follow all the principles, all the dharmic principles if you follow. And again, if we want to look at this from the angle of Advaita, we have to go to Atma Bodha. Because in Atma Bodha, verse 50, Adi Shankara describes this storyline. So what he says is, it's Atma Rama. Rama is the self. And you have to identify that Atma. Then what is Sita symbolizes? Sita symbolizes the Shanti. And then Ravana is the ego or the desires. So when you go, towards the desires through your ego, the 10-headed ego, each one is asking for something, and you go towards it, the Shanti is stolen away. Basically, the Ravana, Asura, is within us who kind of steals away the Shanti. Now, how to find the Shanti? How Rama and Shanti now have to find each other, because the Rama is the self, the Atma. That's when Hanuman comes, which is the Bhakti and Shraddha. That's what Hanuman describes or symbolizes. So with Bhakti and Shraddha, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. With devotion and Shraddha, you can regain Shanti and be one with Rama. That's what that Atma Bodha verse is. It talks about Atma Ramo Virajate. Very beautiful. And now let's move on to the Dasamaskandha. That's the most adorable section of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Whenever you listen to Dasamaskandam being chanted, you're full of joy. There is energy there. That is Lord Krishna. Because Krishna, if you look at the name Krishna, the most attractive one, Karshati, he attracts everybody. That's why when, if there is a dance performance and the song is about Lord Krishna and the dancer is showing all the abhinayam, the entire audience is enjoying it. That is what he is. And why is that? Krishna, who does he symbolizes? If you really look at it, it is the self. That is why it is so attractive. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything we do is for the self only. That's what the Upanishad says. Here, when you look at the name and form of Krishna, it's evident that it is talking about the self. The blue color, he's in dark blue color. Why blue? The blue is the infinity. The sky is blue, the ocean is blue. It just represents the infinite, the vastness of it. We know science tells us actually there is no blue color. It is all the wavelengths of the light that is reflecting. All those is, scientific way we can explain. But still, when you look at the clear blue sky, there is joy in your heart. When you see the waves in the ocean, there is joy in your heart. That's because it is the infinity. And then Krishna is now holding on to the flute. Why flute? Why not some other instrument? Why not a violin or a veena or a mritanga? Why is he holding the flute? If you just think about it, I have to owe it to all these great acharyas who have explained this for us. The flute is representing egoless consciousness. This is Swami Tattva Vedananda's verse. He says it's the egoless consciousness, that is the flute, because it's emptied out. It has emptied everything entirely, the matter within. Give up all the matter of worldly thoughts. Give up the body identification. Give up the selfishness. Then the self will play you. Meaning there will be spontaneity, there will be joy, there will be a flow. And that is the flute representing. Now in this skandam, a lot of stories lines are there. There are a lot of asuras, and then those asuras are killed by Lord Krishna. For example, Putana. Putana is a demon of decay and putrefaction. We have all these qualities in us, within us. And so when Putana is cunning and terrifying character, and she was killed, but it is not said as Putana Vada, it's Putana Moksha. You basically get rid of all these impurities in you, the kama, krodha, moga, lobha, mada, matsarya. You just get rid of them, and there is freedom, there is moksha. And, Asura is no one, but it's a devotee who has gone wrong. Because even in Ravana is described as a Shiva devotee. So the Asura Guna and the Deva Guna both are within us. We just have to identify and kill the Asura Guna so that the Deva Guna can flourish. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, again it is described about the Deva Guna and Asura Guna. But again, they are all not outside. They are all within us. We just have to identify and get rid of these negative qualities and be one with Ishvara by being pure and be dharmic. And in this, the other beautiful story is the Damodara. When this little Krishna is now tied to that, that story just tells you like Yasoda is trying to tie him, but she's not able to. There is always 2-inch short. Now she's asking to get a bigger rope, and she's still not able to tie. Again, always the 2-inch is short. Why? You are not able to tie Krishna. In other words, you are not able to grasp or tie the Atma. That's what it describes. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yat uvacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. You cannot describe it by words. You cannot achieve it by mind. You can try. The mind and the speech was trying to go get the Atma, but they could not. And then Mandukya also says, Agrahyam, Alakshanam, Achintyam. That's what the storyline is saying. But with devotion, with Shraddha, now Krishna himself allows, and then she's able to tie. So that again shows how bhakti is important even for the jnani. So the jignasu bhakti and jnani bhakti is described. So that bhakti is so important. And now let's move on to Kaliya Nardhanam. Kaliya Nardhanam is another beautiful story, and a lot of these dancers love this, the singers love this. Again, what is this kind of represents? It's the snake that is deep inside this lake, and then Krishna goes and finds it out and dances on it and crushes all its poisonous heads. So this is telling how we have to find the asuras within us. The lake is standing for the mind because it has ripples in it all the time. But you have to be placid. Then only you can reflect. But if you go deeper in it, antarmukha, just like how Krishna went, you can find all the venomous snake within you and that poisonous heads of the egoism, and you will be able to crush it in the meditation and in the nididhyasanam. So then the next storyline I want to address is the Gopika Vastrabharanam. Again, many people will be wondering what kind of story is this. The Gopikas are bathing and now Krishna is hiding their clothes. Here we have to understand the clothes is actually representing the body identification. Because if you again go back to the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 22nd verse, it is actually mentioned about the clothes. Just as a person give up the old clothes and takes up the new one, the self, the one who dwells in the body, gives up the old bodies and then take the new one. The verse goes like this. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani yanyani samyati navani dehi. So beautiful. And then there is this story about Govardhana Giridhari. He kind of lifts up the mountains with his pinky, like the little finger, he's able to lift it. He can lift the burden of samsara for you. All you have to do is again surrender. Yogakshemam vahamyaham, that's what he says. And Dayananda ji used to say a story, like this seller, like this old lady who sells flowers. She is hopping into the train with a big basket and she's still holding on the basket in her head and unable to stand. Then the fellow passengers are telling her, why are you still holding it? Just put it on the ground. The train will actually take it. So that's what we are supposed to do. Let Lord take care of it. We just have to Ishwararpanam. We should just let it go. All the stories, the Asura's names, the Narakasura, Agasura, Kamsa, all are actually within us. And also the Akrura, the one with no cruelty, who actually sees, has the darshan of Krishna, the self basically. Uddhava, the joyous one, the Uddhava Gita is all about self-realization. It's all within us. Then what is the butter? You can say it's the karma pala. Because we talk about how the karma pala has to be, given, right? You have to transcend the karma. If you look at the Krishna's form, he's a Tribangi. He has 3 bends. That's how it's described. Why 3 bends? There are a lot of, significance for 3 in the scriptures. We talked about the 3 gunas. Now we have these 3 karmas. Sanchita karma, Agami karma, and then Prarabdha karma. Meaning almost like Sanchita is the storage, your checked in baggage. And then when you're traveling, you carry on, right? That is the Prarabdha. You just have to carry with it. And then Agami is in the journey, wherever you are traveling, in the tourist place, you are shopping, you are collecting. That is the Agami karma. So all these 3 karmas you have to transcend. And then we have the shariras. We have the sthula sharira, which is the physical body, and then sukshma sharira, which is all your mind, intellect, and then we have the karana sharira, which is the ignorance. Again, we have to transcend these 3 shariras. That's what that 3 bends are representing. You transcend all these. Transcend the karmas, transcend the 3 sharira. But how to transcend? That's what is the karma phala is now kind of eaten up. Because once you identify yourself with the self, you know that you are the Atma. You're no longer worried about these karma. So that is the karma phala, is the butter, and that's what Krishna is eating it up, or he's stealing it. And now the beautiful Rasa Leela is described. When I first listened to the meaning of what is Rasa Leela through the Advaita lens, this was a class by Swamini Swatma Vidyananda ji on Bodhashara. Bodhashara is a text written by Narahari, a contemporary poet, very beautifully written. And what he says is, the thoughts are the gopikas. And every thought is dancing without any purpose. But then when Krishna lights it up, when Krishna goes and joins, meaning the self lights up, that's when it comes out, right? And that's why, there are 16,000 gopikas described, and Krishna marries all 16,000 of them. That's how Bhagavatam is saying. So here it's the innumerable thoughts, and you want the thoughts to be one with Krishna, not, they are dancing by themselves. When you look at the Rasa Leela, there, when they are actually thinking they are doing everything, when their ego is sky high, for a second, for a minute, Krishna kind of disappears. He's not disappearing, but they are not able to see Krishna. Now they are sad. They are like, oh, where are you, Krishna? So now they are going, this is Rasa Leela, going and asking every flower, every Shampakam, Mallika, everybody, they are asking, did you see Krishna? Did you see Krishna? And when they are not able to see, now they are sad. And they said, okay, now this is time to surrender. So they now understand, I thought I can do this, but it is him who's doing everything. Now they sat down, and that is the Gopika Geetam. Jayati tetikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvatatrahi. So when they sat down, when you sit down, when you are in still, when the thoughts are now being still and they surrender, self reflects. Again, you don't need to invite the sun. Sun is there always. All you have to do is clean the window and then go stand near it. Sun will reveal itself. So you can understand the self just by being still. May the inner enemies be killed. May the one know the I to be fulfilled. May the devotees ingest all the scriptures and graze like sinless cows in the field. Let the ahankara kamsa be destroyed. Let the limitless I be relished. The existence, sat, the knowledge, chit, the limitless ananda. May that I be the most attractive one. O Lord Krishna, the self, the most attractive one. Grace like sinless cows in the fields. When I wrote that, I was thinking about my grandfather, Sangu Subramaniam. He wrote this beautiful song in Tamil about how we are all the cows, and Krishna is the cowherd who has to actually help us, come out of this samsara. Kandru pasu meithu nirkum kanna kanna. Ondru solven kettiduvaai kanna kanna. That's how the song goes. Nee meikkum maadaga aaga vendum. Nittam nittam nee pidithu katta vendum. So simple words. You have to tie me. You have to make me be in the, in the most righteous way. And then he also says, நானேனும் பேய் தலையெடுத்தால் முட்ட வேணும். So whenever that ahankara comes out, Krishna, please crush it, just like how you crushed Kamsa. Just most beautiful song. And then Rukmini, when you look at the Rukmini Vivah, it is like, again, I think this is more like the love and devotion coming together, the Jignasu Bhakta. Because so far Mumukshu, and then now you become a Jignasu, there is like a big leap. You want freedom, and then now you want to know yourself. That is the big leap. If you take that one step, Bhagavan will take multiple other steps and come closer to you. The self will come closer to you. And kind of he lifts you against all odds. then no rituals are needed. Because the Rukmini Vivah is not a typical ritualistic Vivah. It's like an elopement Vivah. So that's the inner realization happens like that. It is a silent affair. It's not something that you can do like a prakatanam to everybody. And now that's how the 10th skandam is, Dasama skandam is kind of, I'm going to wrap up. Let's move on to the 11th skandam. This is like full of Advaita. Swami Omkarananda used to teach us this, and this explains the Advaita philosophy. There is Uddhava Gita, and the entire explanation of like what this chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita says, the same thing is given here. What is moksha? What can give you moksha? How jnanam is important for moksha? What is bhakti? What is the role of bhakti? And what is dhyana? What is the role of dhyana? What is karma? Everything is explained in this. And there's no symbolism, it's just explained. And you just have to, the Ekadasha Skandam is like the pure Advaita, you can have it. And now, let's move on to the 12th Skandam. This is just again most fascinating area where Swami Tattva Vedānanda explained how this Rupa Varnana of Lord Vishnu there is the symbols, Sangha, Chakram, Kaustubam, Vanamali, how everything can be now looked at through the Advaita lens. I want to chant these verses and then explain that. This is from the 12th Skandam, chapter 11, verses 10 to 15. कौस्तुभव्यपदेशेन स्वात्मज्योतिर्बिभर्त्यजः तद्ब्रह्मा व्यापिनी साक्षात् श्रीवत्समुरसा विभुः स्वमाययां वनमालाख्यां नानागुणमयीं ददत् वाचश्चन्दोमयं पीतं ब्रह्मसूत्रं त्रिवत्स्वरम् बिभाति सांख्यं योगं च देवो मकरकुण्डले मौलिं पदं पारमेष्ट्यं सर्वलोकभयङ्करम् अव्याकृतम् अनन्ताख्यम् आसनं यदधिष्ठितः धर्मज्ञानदिभिर्युक्तं सत्वं पद्मं इहोच्यते ओजस्सहो बलयुतं मुख्यतत्त्वं गदां तदत् अभां तत्त्वं दरवरं तेजस्तत्त्वं सुदर्शनम् नभो निभं नभस्तत्त्वमसीं चर्मतमोमयं कालरूपं धनुस्सार्गं तथा कर्ममये श्रुतिम् श्रीहरे नमः. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. If there are mistakes in chanting, please forgive me, Lord Krishna. But this is beautiful, beautiful way of describing the Rupa Varnana of Mahavishnu. We all have seen him wearing this Kaustubha Mala, Vanamali, all those things. Now here, let's look at it from the Advaita lens. The Lord is wearing his own chit, his own light of knowledge, the awareness absolute, as the Kaustubham. That is the necklace in his chest. And then there is this Srivatsa, the mark. That mark is coming from the lustre of his own chit, cosmic intelligence. Then the best part is this. Maya is the Vanamala. Like the mala, the garland he is wearing from the wild flowers, that's basically the Maya. I again recall my grandfather's Tamil song here. He beautifully wrote one song where he describes as how Krishna is wearing these leaves from the wild forest. Kalayillam tanda kannan kadinile panayolai talayil anindador tarayil kidanda mailiragu vilayilla kundumani virimarbil vilayada ilayellam malayana Ivananinda Aragenne. If you look at this, whenever you are walking, whenever you are hiking, you are seeing the leaves, you are seeing the trees, this is Lord Vishnu. Ilayellam malayana Ivananinda Aragenne. And then Hare Vrikshebhyo, we can even look at the Sri Rudram where it also describes the same. So the yellow dress what he is wearing, the Pitambaram, that stands for Vedas. And then because Veda is the knowledge and yellow represents the knowledge. And then we have the sacred thread. He has the 3 strands and the sacred thread. And that is the 3 syllables of Om. The Akara, Ukara, Makara. And then the Makara Kundalam. On both ears he is wearing them. They are like alligator shaped. That is the Sankhya and Yoga. So Sankhya is the discrimination, like you need to know the Viveka, the Prakriti Purusha Viveka, and then the Yoga, which is the austerities for self-realization. Basically you need them. You need Viveka, you need Yoga to realize the self. Then the crown he is wearing on his head, that is the Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is the one who kind of the origin, like protects the entire universe. And then he is sitting, he is abiding in the lotus. Here the lotus symbolizes the Sattva Guna. Because you have to have the Sattva Guna. The dharmic, the righteousness has to be there for where the knowledge, the self can reflect. And then Adisesha is also described. That is the uncoiled, it's kind of the coiled, it's there, right? Uncoiled, that is still there. So that is the unmanifest of the universe. We see universe, but then it is a constantly expanding. We hear that scientifically. So there is this coiled version which will slowly uncoil. And that is what Adisesha is. Then Prana, the vital force, the cosmic life is his mace. He is holding in it hand. Then Conch. Conch is the element of water, the Sangha. And then the Chakra, the discus, is the fire. The one that he uses for Gajendra, that is the, fire. And then we have the sword. Sword is a space. That's what it represents. And now he has this shield also in his hand. So that is the Tamoguna. So with the sword, the Tamoguna has to be kind of killed. And then there is bow and arrow also. So bow and arrow is like the time and the quiver. Again, we know from Sri Rudram about this bow and arrow. There's one way of looking at it. This is the Karmapala. Or you can also look at it as the time and activity. Because when you are still, if there is stillness, there is no time at all. When there is movement in the mind, that's when time begins. So that's why when you talk about self as timeless and spaceless, you can see that stillness is where the self is seen or reflected or known. So I'm kind of wrapping up here. I want to thank all the acharyas who have actually explained this in multiple talks. And again, I want to quote Madhusudana Saraswati. Despite knowing all these Advaita version, you may still say, oh, I like to look at Krishna as Krishna and pray. That is absolutely fine. There has to be that, interim duality for you to have the devotion. But understand, Krishna is no one but you. It is the self. And that is the beauty of this. I just want to finish with few lines of the poem. Universe is the fanfare. Divinity is everywhere. Sun shines brightly in the sky, lifting the fog up and high, chasing the darkness from conscience. Self surrenders now in silence. Mountains stand tall, proving the existence Sat. Flowers bloom for all, exhibiting the cosmic intelligence Chit. Observer and the observed dance in the divine madness, and that is Ananda. Let us dance in the divine madness. Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Shri Hare Namaha. Shri Hare Namaha.